The movie Arrival, which is based on a book called The Story of Your Life, starts with 12 alien spaceships entering into Earth's orbit and strategically locating themselves in 12 different regions. So in one particular region, two people are recruited. One is Louise, who is a linguist, and the other is Ian, who is a scientist. And they are recruited by the US Army to go and find out what the real motivations are, to be able to establish some sort of communication with the aliens so that they can understand what their motivations are for entering into Earth. So they set out to do that, to establish a communication with the aliens. Now at one point in the movie, the aliens give their language, but they don't give it all at once. They give it to the 12 different regions and they separate it. Now there's a meeting happening as to why did they do this? Why didn't they give their language all at once? Why did they give it to the 12 different regions and in very different forms? And one of the agents, Agent Harpen, who kind of embodies the mass hysteria, the mass anxiety about these aliens, he says, well, it's very obvious. It is to divide us. It is to pit country against country. And in one sense, that's what happens. 9 out of the 12 countries cut off communications altogether and they start to go attack the aliens. Ian and Louise, what they say is, well, there is no evidence for it. Well, Harpen says, no, there is. Just grab any history book and you will see. That is what conquering nations have always done, divide and rule. And in one sense, it's understandable for the agent to think this way because throughout history, that is what has always happened. But Agent Harpen is using his own subjective understanding of history, a subjective view of history, and imposing that on this particular event. The thing is, the aliens have come for the exact opposite reason. By giving the languages to the 12 different countries, it forces the countries to unite and work together towards a common goal. The symbolism here is really strong, and there are two particular aspects of the symbolism that comes out. One is that we always interpret events based on our subjective past. We take our subjective past, what do we learn from that, and we impose that. And one lesson that comes out of this movie is that every event, with especially events of such magnitude, needs to be read on its own terms. We need to be able to pull out of our biases and be able to interpret these events on its own terms. The second is this, when nations are by themselves, what they are ultimately doing is trying to conquer, trying to dominate power and authority over other nations. But when the aliens come and when they give language, it pushes human beings to unite towards a common goal. And that symbolism is really strong, to show that when something from outside enters, it gives more leverage for human beings to unite towards a common cause that is outside, that is beyond themselves. Left to themselves in this plane of existence, the only choice or the only highest goal seems to be to conquer and to establish power. But when there's a greater goal to which human beings ascend to, it pushes them to unite and come together.